Rabosoko, Mahanda Akasata, Reke Yamanda Raboko Sokota, Ronda Yakande Eke Seke La Mama Manda Rabakase, Meta Rabakande La Babakaso, Yalamana Niana no, Sakayato Yakande, Yamakato, Yabatadia City Akano, Yakatara City. Power!
Stand-up comedy's Chris Keene is here. Steph Zambrano is here.
Hi, Jim.
The Miserable Liberal. And so you remember when they said that they caught the guy who started the fire in Los Angeles, the LA fires? They say a Florida man accused of intentionally starting fire that destroyed Pacific Palisades. Now, that always seemed sketchy to me because the guy who they said started the fire called 911. He was the guy who called 911, and he called them 3 times before the fire had even started blazing. So why would you start a fire and then immediately call 911 3 times, knowing that you're going to be the guy they're going to go to? So anyway, so it was always sketchy to me. And he had Googled, can you be put in prison for starting a fire with a cigarette butt? Because apparently, I guess he put his cigarette butt out or something, whatever. So it always seems sketchy. Here it is. They really that's the guy. That's the guy. They caught him in Florida. But now it turns out we got text messages. The LA firefighters were told to abandon a smoldering blaze that started on January 1st. You want to hear it? Here.
The report says firefighters were ordered to leave the smoldering burn site that eventually became the deadly Palisades wildfire. The LA Times is obtained text messages from 3 firefighters at the scene of the Lockman fire. That fire started, of course, New Year's Day and then smoldered until January 7th, when historic winds reignited it into the Palisades fire. Federal prosecutors say that fire was intentionally set by Jonathan Rinderneck. On January 2nd, a battalion chief ordered firefighters at the scene to pull out of the area because the fire was contained. One firefighter said the chief had been told it was a bad idea to leave because the fire was still smoldering and could be rekindled. The LAFD has declined to comment on the text messages.
Oh, they're not commenting on them. Isn't that interesting? So it sounds like they got another patsy. They got another patsy to blame the fire on, because I'm betting they knew all along that they let that fire smolder without extinguishing it 100%. And that led to the deadliest fire and most destructive fire that I think in the history of Los Angeles. Am I wrong about that? And let's not forget that the reservoir hadn't been repaired and filled with water for 2 years. So they had a 113 million gallon reservoir right above. That's the Pacific Palisades that all burned down. They had a 113 gallon reservoir of water. They didn't fill it. They drained it. They were going to repair it. They never repaired it for 2 years. And we've never heard a statement from the person who's in charge of the water. She makes $750,000 a year, and we've never heard a word from her. And it says, according to Median Politics, that this reservoir was specifically built for this type of fire in the Pacific Palisades. It's incompetent government at its best, and the mayor's still in office. They did that on purpose, so they're trying to blame it on a patsy. But guess what? So the LA Times, they break it down for us. So days before the Palisades Inferno, firefighters were ordered to leave smoldering burn site. What? Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Firefighters mopping up a small brush fire that authorities say reignited as the Palisades fire 5 days later were ordered to leave the original burn scene, even though they complained the ground was still smoldering and rocks remained hot to the touch, according to firefighters' text messages that were reviewed by the LA Times. To the firefighters' surprise, their battalion chief ordered them to roll up their hoses and pull out of the area on January 2nd. To their surprise. Boy, is this going to be grist for the conspiracy mill. So it's very much sounds like the Israeli soldiers being given a stand down order on October 7th. The day after the 8-acre blaze was declared contained. So that they told them to pull up their hoses on January 2nd, the day after the 8-acre blaze was declared contained, rather than stay and make sure there were no hidden embers that could spark a new fire. The text messages said they were told to get out of there instead of sticking around. On the morning of January 7th, according to federal authorities, strong winds stoked the remnants of the New Year's Day blaze into the firestorm that killed 12 people and destroyed thousands of homes. In one text message, a firefighter who was at the scene on January 2nd wrote that the battalion chief had been told it was a bad idea to leave the burn scar unprotected because of the visible signs of smoldering terrain. And the rest is history, the firefighter wrote in recent weeks. The text exchanges among 3 firefighters and a third party provide previously undisclosed details about the Los Angeles Fire Department's handling of the Lockman fire, which federal investigators say was deliberately set and had burned underground in a canyon root system until the winds rekindled it. The third party asked that he and the firefighters not be named because they were not authorized to speak publicly. The Los Angeles Fire Department declined to comment on the text messages, but has said officials believed the fire was fully extinguished. We believed it was, even though the text messages say they were warned that it wasn't. The revelation that firefighters feared the Lockman fire could reignite comes as Pacific Palisades residents and others who lost homes and loved ones demand to know why more wasn't done to protect their communities. Why? Because if you went to talk to those people, I've seen videos of independent news people going to the Palisades immediately after the fires, where they had an aid station set up where they would give people food and water and what have you. And they were interviewing them. People just lost their whole life. And they were asking them, did they hold the politicians, the mayor, accountable? And they're like, no, there's nothing they could do. You know, there was a 113 million gallon reservoir above the Pacific Palisades built specifically for this type of thing. And they left it unfilled for 2 years. Did you know that? Yeah, there's nothing they could do. That wouldn't have helped. Anyway, complaints that the people in the Palisades were not screaming. That my point is, they were willing to protect their Democratic politicians. I don't know why, but they were, and still nobody demands any answers from Karen Bass, the mayor, or Governor Gavin Newsom. Nope, there's nobody. The revelations that firefighters feared the Lockman fire could reignite comes as the Pacific Palisades residents and others who lost homes and loved ones demand. Oh, now they're demanding. That's good. Complaints that the city and state failed to properly prepare for and respond to the January 7th fire are already the subject of numerous lawsuits and a Republican-led inquiry by the U.S. Senate Committee. This month, interim LA Fire Department Chief Ronnie Villanova said in a statement that the Palisades Inferno was not due to failed suppression. Of course it's not, according to him. No, it's not us. It had nothing to do with that. Instead, he said it was the result of an undetectable holdover fire that lived deep within the roots, even though the firemen on the scene were saying we should keep an eye on this and we shouldn't leave yet. In the text messages, firefighters complained that the commanders failed to make certain that the mop-up was finished. So they didn't make certain. So they left a fire burning. And they're going to blame that guy. A second firefighter said in January that crews at Station 69 in the Palisades were surprised that they were told to roll up their hoses the day after the fire, according to the text. The firefighter was told that tree stumps were still hot at the location when the crew packed up and left. That's according to those texts. As a standard precaution, the hoses had been left there in case hidden embers sparked a flare-up. A different firefighter said this month that crew members were upset when told to pack up and leave, but that they could not ignore orders, according to the texts. The firefighter also wrote that he and his colleagues knew immediately that the January 7th fire was a rekindle of the January 1st fire. The battalion chief listed as being on duty that day, that the firefighters were ordered to leave the Lockman fire. His name is Mario Garcia. He did not respond to requests for comment. Probably smart. Probably smart on his half. In a previous interview with the Times, Villanueva said firefighters remained in the burn area for more than 36 hours and cold trailed it, meaning they used their hands to feel for heat, dug out hot spots, and chopped a line around the perimeter of the fire to ensure it was contained. Yeah, they did cold feel it, and they thought there was hot tree stumps. That's what the texts say. They found there were hot tree stumps. It wasn't cold. He said firefighters returned on January 3rd for another round of cold trailing after a report of smoke in the area. We went back over there again. We dug it out all again. We did everything that we could do. Cold trail again. We did it all. We did all that. Okay. All right. The Times asked the Los Angeles Fire Department to provide dispatch records that would corroborate firefighters visiting the site on January 3rd. Officials didn't provide them. City Council member Tracy Park, who represents the Palisades, said she had heard from residents that there was smoke at the site before January 7th. I think it raises the question, knowing that there was a fire on January 1st and then rekindle activity, knowing that there's an enhanced risk in that area, why weren't additional resources staged or deployed in and around that area, she said in an interview. Good question. Experts had long suspected that the Palisades fire had been ignited by embers left by the January 1 blaze, but it was only with an arson arrest this month that federal investigators officially declared the deadly conflagration a holdover fire, the continuation of the Lockman fire that was seemingly extinguished. Former Pacific Palisades resident Jonathan Rinderknecht has been charged with deliberately setting the January 1st fire shortly after midnight near a trailhead. They got to get a patsy. They got to get a guy. During the investigation, that the ATF concluded that the fire smoldered and burned for days underground. So the firemen were wrong. Well, actually, the firemen were right, as the text really revealed, that they knew that they shouldn't leave and that there was hot tree stumps and stuff like that. And there's probably not out all the way. So the firemen were right. It's the fire department that was wrong. Within the root structure of dense vegetation until heavy winds caused it to surface, according to an affidavit attached to the Rinderknecht complaint. Villanueva told the Times that neither he nor the LA Fire Department's arson squad knew what a holdover fire was until federal investigators explained it to them. You got to be kidding. Did I read that right, Chris?
Yeah, I don't understand that either. The
fire department, the new fire chief, told the LA Times that neither he nor the Los Angeles Fire Department arson squad knew what a holdover fire was. Well, they sound like they're up to snuff. They sound like they got their training done. As far as we're concerned, the fire was extinguished. Unbeknownst to us, it was still in the routing system. No, it was beknownst to the firemen on the scene. Although the Los Angeles Fire Department equips firefighters with thermal imaging cameras and also employs drones with similar infrared imaging, Villanueva said officials decided against using them. Wow. They decided against using them before leaving on January 1st, the January 1st burn area, because of the size of the fire. Oh my!
Brilliant.
Oh my God. But you talk to my neighbors here in Hollywood, and they'll tell you there's nothing they could do, Jimmy. There's nothing they could do. It's just an act of God. Just nothing they could do. It's an act of God. Several former Los Angeles Fire Department chief officers said it is standard procedure to monitor a burn site for several days after a fire appeared to be out, especially if strong winds were in the forecast, which they were. Hurricane winds were in the forecast. It is a common practice for firefighters to check out past wildfires because you want to make sure it is dead out, said Patrick Butler, former Los Angeles Fire Department Assistant Chief. Butler managed several large fires for the LA Fire Department and oversaw its arson team. You don't leave until you have 100% mop up because fire can hide underground and reignite unexpectedly even weeks later. So it seems like that guy knows what a holdover fire is, but isn't it weird that the current chief of the police of Los Angeles never even heard of a holdover fire? It seems like the former guy did. The former assistant chief knew.
Which is weird because the new LAFD chief is James E. Moore, supposedly with 30-year veteran of the department.
I thought it's Villanueva, according to LA Times.
I got Jamie E. Moore as the new permanent LAFD chief.
Let me see. Where does
Look, Villanueva.
This month, he was the interim chief.
Okay.
So now we have a new chief appointed permanent. Ronnie. Okay. So the interim chief was Ronnie Villanueva, but the new chief is this guy.
Moore,
okay.
Jamie Moore.
Okay.
41-year veteran of the fire department.
Villanueva?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he didn't.
Never heard of a holdover fire, apparently.
Yeah, that's crazy.
So nor his arson team, apparently. So there you go. Another more. At best, this is mass incompetence. At best, they drained the reservoir that's supposed to be there to fight fires, and didn't refill it for 2 years. At best, that's incompetence. At best, the firefighters who wanted to stay on the fire site and make sure that it was 100% mopped up were told to get their hoses and leave, even though they didn't want to. So that seems worse than incompetent, doesn't it?
Criminal.
That seems criminal. That seems worse than incompetent. Boy, it would be weird. All I know is, oh, by the way, now they just fast-tracked a new law. They're putting bus routes into the Pacific Palisades so they can build high-density housing now. Isn't that weird? That thing that everybody said they were going to do, they're doing. So they're putting high-density housing in there. And believe me, they're going to put it in Altadena, too, where the other fire was in Los Angeles. Putting in high-density housing. So taking something that was single-family houses, which what made the neighborhood attractive, same thing in Altadena, that's what made the neighborhood attractive. It was single-family homes. And now they're going to put 8, 9-story apartment buildings in there. Wow. So certainly a lot of grist for the conspiracy mill on this one. It certainly seems like there's a cover-up happening. Certainly seems like it. And they got their patsy. It was the guy who called 911 to tell him there was a fire. Called him 3 times. Called him 3 times because his cell phone kept dropping. He didn't have good service. So he called him back. Called him 3 times to let him know. I have actually hilarious jokes about the ridiculous reaction to the LA fires. You should come see me. In Australia, we got second shows on all of them. We'll see you the day after Thanksgiving in Burbank. That's November 28th. It's a Friday. Everybody's off. We'll see you in Pottstown, Pennsylvania, December 6th, January 11th, Waikiki. Go to jimmydore.com for a link for tickets. Over stuff.
And that Waikiki link is live, ladies and gentlemen. Very excited about that. All right, here we go. Chipster. Thank you, Chipster. I'll tell you what is scary. Snake eyes. The house always wins. Chipster. What was that about? All right. That's too funny. Mountain Star Studio. I'll tell you what is scary. Snake eyes. The house always wins. Is this referencing some current snake eyes that I'm missing? Okay. Keep me posted in the chat, ladies and gentlemen. The future puppet leader of Venezuela says she's going to move the embassy to Jerusalem. Nice move there. B-Man. All right. GDMPB. James and Ryan Christian, and Mark Windows, etc., all banned for honest research, not even controversial, just truth. There must follows. Thanks for getting him on. GDNPB, you got it, amigo. Oh, James is back on YouTube, according to McMac. Let's go. Oh, here we go. We got another one. Bays. While you're waiting, Bays Disclassified on YouTube. It's a video I made only 5 minutes long. I'm very proud. Shout out to Jimmy Dore. Keep fighting the good fight. Bays is based. Do you say that about yourself? Is that how it works? And then Savage back. News. This is interesting. Guy fell in Palisades nuclear power plant. Palisades nuclear. I didn't even know Palisades had a nuclear power. Did everybody in the room know that already? Am I the last one to know? Thank you. Again, Micmac is on my side. Everything's a scam. Everything's a lie. Everything's hypocrisy. So I don't comply. Look at you, Vianticus. I checked out your songs. Thank you so much. You like the hard rock. You do. All right, here we go. Maybe protect the whistleblowers. That's from Mountain Star Studio. It's like they never do. I love your show. Glad we have platforms for objective people who care about the truth. Bays Disclassified was awesome, by the way. You should check it out. Bays is based. And that's from My Kiwaya. Thank you. And oh, Megan. What is, oh, all right. Don't let me be Cassandra. Be very careful about divide and conquer framing traps. Never go off on suspicions because they will put every weight on vague suspicions. There are enough facts out there. No need to speculate. What is this about, Mega? I mean, my goodness. The facts, and all the speculation around Charlie Kirk has really made Kash Patel nervous. Have you noticed that? All right, let's see here. How you doing, Jim?
Give me a sec.
Standing by. All right, let's refresh over here. All right, ladies and gentlemen. Don't be a Cassandra, Mega. Don't be a Cassandra. Okay, now I'm going to have to look up my Greek mythology. Or is that Roman mythology?